Hi guys, I'm going to be answering number two. Um, why do I think that people with higher education stay married more than people that don't have higher education? Um, I think number one, I think that those numbers might be a little bit skewed because I think that especially for women, the higher your education, the less likely you are going to rely on a man because I know I'm going to school so I can make money and take care of myself. And if if you don't need somebody to rely on that way, you can take care of yourself. What do you need a man for? And then those that do get married, it's probably somebody that's more intelligently close to them, so they can probably talk about things better because they have more things to talk about. And they're like, on both sides, both parties are probably much more selective in their mate. um, there's less, when you're college educated, you generally make more money, so there's not financial problems to argue over. People that have higher education, they might not have as many kids as people of kind of a lower socioeconomic status. And so those stresses on the marriage aren't there. I think too, when you're educated, or if you just, if you make a lot of money, it's probably harder to get divorced because people think of things like prenuptial agreements, or they have lots of assets tied together that they can't separate, or for their job it looks bad for them to get divorced. So that could be a factor. Like, maybe it's not all positive. They might have, this is kind of weak, but maybe because they're in college, they are better at arguing. Or more likely, like, they can afford to go to marriage counseling because they have good jobs. And then on the other side, I think that people that don't have an education, they a lot of them get married super young. I know that when I was in high school, I have one friend that got married and they're still married and very happy. But I know so many other people that I went to high school with that ran off with their high school sweetheart or got pregnant really young, and they're on, you know, they're on their next marriage, or they're single because they got married so young. And when you get married young, you're immature and you change as you grow. So there you go. That's a big hunk of that, like the lower educated people right there. And then there's in a lower with less education, there's more things like abuse, financial problems, accidental pregnancies because they can't afford birth control. And then that kind of stuff places a huge weight on a marriage. I know that when I was married, I got married when I was 24, and the man that I married was not who I thought he was, but there were all of those factors in place. One, our education didn't match up. I was more educated than he was. Two, there was financial problems, and then three, we had kids that we couldn't afford, and then of course the marriage was doomed. But it's also interesting. I don't know where I heard it, but years ago someone told me that there are some, like, certain things that can almost 100% predict a divorce, and that is change in appearance. Like if somebody, like a couple is they're equally attractive and one of them like loses all the weight and becomes like totally beautiful, then they're likely to become divorced. The change in education, they is almost, like it's unreal how often they get divorced when that happens. And I think that part of why educated people stay married longer is because they're both educated. So there's ideas that they can think of and they can talk rationally. Maybe there's less dramatic tension. And they're, not that I'm the most responsible person in the world, but people that are college educated tend to be responsible. So all of those crazy things that people argue and argue and argue about that lead to divorce, it might just not happen as much. Or they could just be, they don't get divorced because I don't know. That's my answer. Thanks, guys.